Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and move forward. And now we're gonna do our Scotch Broom IPM research panel question and answer session. So this is kind of new to me, but I believe everybody can go ahead, the panelists can go ahead and view their videos so we can see you, and then we'll go through some questions. Let's see if I can see the questions.
Yeah, they did.
They
discharged an extra 100 gallons or so. Yeah.
All right.
They addressed it.
I'm.
Satisfaction.
I've got questions. I've got questions for Rochelle. No, I'll hold it.
How did you get the questions to show up?
So Mary, if you pop out the questions pane, and so it makes it bigger, you'll see that there's a flag, there's a green flag. If you click on that, sorry, there's a plane going overhead, it'll sort the questions to make the red flags that Michael, like the questions that Michael flagged, come to the top, and then you can just read through them.
All right, how do we pop that out?
You just click the little square with the arrow pointing to the left that's right next to the X, and that'll pop it out.
Oh, nope, that didn't happen.
That not work? Okay.
Not work.
Where's Michael when you need him?
Yeah,
right?
I'm here. That's exactly what you should do. That little next to the X, just click that little box and it should pop it out.
The show answered questions?
No. On the right hand side, there's the X to close the box, and just to the left of that, there's another little box that looks like it has an arrow in it.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Click that and it should pop the pane out.
There.
And then you can make it bigger so you can get over to that the column with the flag, and then click the flag at the top. It'll sort by the flagged ones. I've been flagging.
All right, and we want, what color flag do we want?
Oh, it shouldn't matter. I've made them all high priority because I think they're all high priority, right? So.
All right. And check marks?
I'm not sure what you're doing.
Check marks mean they're answered. So just if you see check marks, just scroll down until you see a red flag, and then that means it's a question for the panelists.
All right, I think this is more of a comment to Ray. There was a comment to get Wi-Fi in your tree house, and it would enhance your already existing with the surrounding environment.
Did you hear that, Ray?
Was he not there?
Ray, you're muted.
I heard it. Okay. Yeah, I came home, so you can see I'm in my front yard now. But I think the Wi-Fi is okay. It was lagging a bit, but I was sitting too far from my Wi-Fi receiver.
Nice. All right, we have a question for Rochelle. What are some of the competitive native plants your organization has chosen to reseed after steep slope gorse removal?
Well, we're doing a grass mixture, just like rice seed or fescue, stuff like that. But we do have local native nurseries for, trees and shrubs though as well. And they usually will stock things like vine maple. And a lot of this is for like riparian areas too. So it kind of just depends on what you're trying to reclaim as well. So if we're moving gorse and riparian areas, and we got trees for that, like what I just said, Oregon ash. And then we like to introduce conifers as well. So if we can get Port Orford cedar, red cedar, Douglas fir, Sitka spruce, and then and then have that that competitive shrub layer as well. I guess like at Coquille Point, like that project, since it's on a slope, it's not really going to be trees. It's going to be like our native beach species. So, we got like beach strawberry and Pacific silverweed and stuff like that.
So it sounds like it's pretty site specific and a variety throughout.
Yeah.
Very cool. Alrighty. I have a question here. This one didn't have exactly who it was to, so maybe, actually this might be for Ray. It says, speaking of reducing seed production, we learned earlier that there are a couple of insects that attack seeds. Are you doing any biocontrol releases in areas in large infestations along the roadsides?
And yes, we are. We're also, I've been having people check to see if the biocontrols are there on their own too. So my guys are looking for that. But I've worked with Jennifer in a couple of locations, and we work with her throughout the state with biocontrol on a variety of species. She helps us out all the time. We're always trying to coordinate those with the counties too, and make sure the county coordinators are in on those types of releases.
Very cool.
I'll jump in because we do the same thing. We've worked with Jen for 8 years now and done Canada thistle, Scotch broom, St. John's wort, and tansy ragwort across the coast. So we're building on what Ray's program has distributed. I'm not sure how great it's doing, so we have to go out and check again.
Awesome. I think these two questions kind of go together, and I think they're for Jill, but I think anybody could probably answer them. So what methods are being used to remove broom from gravel bars, and are you facilitating restoration by introducing native species? We've kind of hit on that a little bit. And real quickly, could we get a definition of what the cut stump method is?
Cut stump method is using really large Fiskars geared loppers to cut down low between 3 to 6 inches above the soil and not getting any sediment on the cut stump. And within a minute or two, dripping from a lab wash bottle, a couple of drops of aquatic glyphosate mixed with water and blue dye, which soaks right into the cambium and goes down into the roots and doesn't get anywhere else. We've tested soil around our plots. There's nothing in the soil. And it kills the entire plant. And we don't revegetate we don't revegetate because of the soil impacts that were explained by Dr. Grove, by Sarah and Ingrid. And we are waiting to check to test soil for figure out with the riparian succession or ecological impact study why the soils are so damaged before we try to introduce in native species, but there's a lot of native propagules around.
Nice. Thank you. That was well said.
I could do it quick.
All right. So another question was, after you cut the Scotch broom, and this might be more for our weed wranglers, after you cut it, will it die on its own, or do you need to do anything else to it? After blooming, after it's bloomed, if you cut it.
Joanne or Dana?
I can answer that from our experience, that if you cut it absolutely at ground level, it will die in our ecosystem, but I'm noticing how different the ecosystems are. And that plant is actually dead. No, you don't need to treat it. There are definitely types of situations where I'm looking at the opportunity to use Jill's recipe, where you need to use some poison. We can't do that with all the volunteers, but 90% of what they cut just dies.
Good. Another quick question back to the cut stump method. Do you find that glyphosate works as effective as triclopyr or not as effective as triclopyr?
We use glyphosate because it's the least risk herbicide on the entire spectrum. It doesn't move in water. It binds with soil and it degrades rapidly. And if we didn't have glyphosate, we'd have to use much more chemicals with much longer residence times that move in water. We have a hyperaric zone right underneath the sites where we treat, and it rains up to 200 inches a year. We can't use any other chemical with as little impact as glyphosate has. This isn't conventional agriculture, it's restoration.
Nice, thank you. And then a quick data question. This wasn't addressed to anybody in particular, but what data are you guys collecting? Just maybe briefly, if you could each kind of talk about that.
I'll go first. Yeah. So our system is designed to work with the points that we collect as far as locations are worked out with the county weed boards, and we map our weed priorities in 3 levels class A or super high priority, and then all the medium priority, and then the ones that are nuisance. In a lot of cases, Scotch broom, if it's already there and it's established, it would be nuisance. But then from there, the data becomes, how do you track the management actions site by site, and how do you store that data so that you can look back at it later and be able to make better decisions going forward. So that's kind of having some kind of a mapped system that you can store data relative to your locations and then be able to look at that data over the course of decades. We're really just getting started with this, so we haven't seen the benefits of GIS really in terms of management yet, I don't think.
All right, Dana?
Yeah.
With our partnership with Solve, they have some specific questions. We mostly just estimate a number of plants or an area that we've removed of Scotch broom. But this year, with our BLM partner being present, she actually mapped the area as well. And I'm not sure exactly what system they were using, but yeah, ours is really basic. Ours isn't so much database as it is, connecting with the community and helping people, volunteers come out and connect to the issue, I guess.
And we're just starting to realize how important it is that we have to start getting things on maps, because currently we've done it mostly with photos, and people in different communities. We have a year report from every one of the municipalities or neighborhoods, so that we know everything that was cut, so that if we figure out how to do the mapping, we actually can go back and say, okay, there was broom here, it's gone. This is an area that we still want to address. This is broom. The area that we cut, it came back, so we have that information, but it's mostly right here, and we want to get it into map form, but we're not there yet. We'd be happy to have help.
Very cool, very cool. Rochelle?
Well, like with the watersheds, the data we collect would be for our early detection, rapid response efforts. So it would be mapping and surveying, and then resurveying those areas that have been treated to see if, is the gorse dead in those spots, and just kind of keeping track of what's been treated, not treated. And then like with the Highway 101 demo site, that's Oregon Department of Agriculture and Oregon State University led project. So the data they collect from that will hopefully be turned into a report if we can get funding to turn that into a report.
Very cool. And Jill, how do you collect your data?
I think I explained that in the presentation, Mary. I won't take anybody's time.
Sounds good. So one more question. Has anybody ever tried using heavy mulch after the broom was cut to help control germination of new broom seeds?
Mm-hmm.
Does that
No.
not work out? Okay.
One of the things we recommend for gorse is actually getting a mulching head for an excavator and mulching it down very, very fine and kind of laying it on top of where you removed it, and it suppresses the seed bank. So that's what we found with gorse. I don't know if it'd be similar for Scotch broom or not, but it would be worth, testing it if someone wants to take the lead on something like that to try.
Do you think that's because the chemicals within the gorse are affecting the germination of its own seeds? Or that's what I'm
wondering if it's the nitrogen, like it gets the point where it's too much, since they're nitrogen fixers, and then it's just too much that it kills them. But I couldn't say for sure. But that's one thought, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're nearing towards the end. One of the questions was if we will be able to provide slides, and we can try to do that at a later date. We'll have to get everything together to do that. And then there are a few questions that we did not answer. Do we want to go ahead and do those, or? Yeah. Okay. Let me get there. So another question for Broom Busters is, you had mentioned that there was too small of a plant to cut. Do you have a diameter of what is too small?
Well, we say a pencil. You know, if it's smaller than a pencil, it's too small. It probably won't die from cutting. But it probably also means at that stage that it's not producing seeds. Like when I'm personally cutting, if I can pull it out and it creates no disturbance, I would rather pull it out. But sometimes it looks like it's a small plant, but it's really just a reshoot from an old root. So then we don't want to pull it out. So basically, if it's not causing any harm by making seeds that year, we might just pass it by and just try to get the seed producing ones, because we always go back to the same areas, you know, because people are working in their neighborhoods. So we wait until it's big enough that will actually die from cutting.
That makes sense. Here's one that is geared towards fire danger. Does anybody know how much fire danger Scotch broom represents in the landscape? And then also, if it is a high or highest priority ignition source along roadsides, should we prioritize and plan for the expensive removal and disposal and cut along roadsides?
I want Ray to jump in, but I just want to say really quickly that it's a gap that we identified as the steering committee in research that we need more of. We certainly heard from the Center for Natural Lands Management and Rodney from Joint Base Lewis McChord and others about the flammability of it, including Joanne and Chelsea. We need to figure that out, and roads are wind corridors, so they should be prioritized because they tend to want to move flame and the problem. And lastly, the Scotch broom, the next round of the economic impact analysis, if it could include fire danger, wildfire risk from Scotch broom, that would be great. Ray, you probably have something to say.
Well, I was going to say that's something we were hoping for, that fire could be, because there's actually proposed funding for fire response as part of some federal money, and we were hoping to be able to tap that. But I think we found out that some older stands are really flammable and when it gets old and has a lot of wood in it, but the younger stuff really doesn't burn that well. It's really wet and juicy, I think, and from what I've seen, that's true. But most of our fires are happening late summer, you know, you've seen them, and we're always, you know, concerned about that. But my main thing is flushing the seed bank. I would say if we can find a way to make all the seeds germinate at one time and then take them out before they produce seeds again, that's the best way to control it. It's kind of between that or suppress the seeds until the natives can become established and kind of preclude their germination. So I would say let's find a way to make those seeds just either rot or flush or somehow go away. That would be my main Scotch broom magic bullet that I want.
Right.
If I can mention something about the fire, like the fire chief that I was quoting, he's actually the one who started the broom busters in Powell River. And because they have a hydro line or electric line going through the center of town, and he's got really tired of having fires that would start underneath, you know, in the Scotch broom underneath the power lines. And I cannot believe that the transmission lines are being allowed to have Scotch broom grow on them. I don't know about what's going on in the States, but in Canada, it's terrible. And, you know, when you mentioned the roadsides being a river, wind corridor, certainly they would be a wind and fire corridor. So that's a serious concern, and I don't know that we're addressing it. We, as meaning all humans, are addressing that to the intensity that we should be.
Yeah.
Hey, Mary, don't forget to show the code word slide.
Oh, yes, we better do that. One quick gorse question. Is gorse allelopathic like Scotch broom is?
Allelopathic.
That was answered several times through the course of the presentations over the past couple of days. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
they're very, very similar plants. Gorse just has that oil that's basically biofuel.
So does Scotch broom, just not
Well,
as much.
there is still a few questions, but I think we should go ahead and share the code word. It is